So hey Nime fans. The series name is What If Naruto Got Harem with Hazbin Hotel. So let's start the series. Also, it's Tom. Click. Heavenly Messenger. Joy. Aggie. What happened? I heard a blast. Did the exterminators come here? Then, at that point, what was it? Aggie's words, Holy Messenger, exploded the dishwasher, made her better half smile. What? Charlie asked, his eyes flickering in surprise. We have a dishwasher? Charlie inquired. I thought we had a clothes washer. Aggie could barely stand it. Seriously, darling. She remarked, what? I've never utilized one, having attendants do that for her because she was a princess. Ha! In this way, I wasn't the one in particular who confused it with one. Chuckled Residue, the heavenly messenger. Clean. Clean. Tidy up. Gracious, untidy. Tidy up. Ahahaha. By chance presently. There's compelling reason need to affront this charmingly broken down place of misleading expectation. Goodness, indeed, my dear Vigatha. I was adding the last little details when I heard this upheaval and chose to enjoy my interest, the thief said with a grin. She wished she didn't think so. No doubt, indeed, presently whatever else. Unfortunately, she might find it insulting when he said, only one, are you sure beyond a shadow of a doubt you actually need this add-on? Yes. People stare at the television, Alistair, hardly anyone listens to radio stations anymore. A larger crowd means a higher chance of attracting people to come here. Vigatha growled, her disillusionment reaching a breaking point, and she had no idea why she had to say the same thing to the notorious master. That terrified her a lot, but she would never let it out without holding back. Yes, certainly, if you require my opinion, my dear Alistair kept his displeasing smile. Folks. No. I don't need your viewpoint on this. Aggie told the master. Folks. Aggie, let me handle this, Alistair. It isn't so much that we don't appreciate and we truly do, don't misunderstand me your assistance, however perhaps we could move the cell. Hahaha. Trust me, my dear, I maintain that this little task of yours should accept off similarly as. That is a heap of bullsh. What? Aggie cried. Language was sung by Alistair in disapproval. Charlie opened his mouth to remember him, but the heavenly messenger cut him off again. Holy messenger, what did we say about? Aggie looked at the post fast and said, I'm sorry, what? Since he didn't believe it. As he emerged into the screen, he yelled, look at it. And everyone turned to witness Foxtech's discovery. Alistair smiled, but his expression shifted slightly to show his disapproval. Just a few seconds before. Time had unfortunately moved away from Carmela Carmine during her last outing, or more precisely, when she ran as fast as she could, her girls close behind, and hated her karma when she went to look into the rumors that one of her subordinates was skimming off the top, and had been doing so for a long time. He wasn't working alone, for it had taken remarkably long, and as the three women started to return to the protection of their stronghold, the Paradise Consulate's clock tower emitted the sound that all criminals feared. It was necessary to create a model in case she lost face, and her reputation was destroyed since the stories had been confirmed. You were simply dead, with no new opportunities of reconciliation. Mother. Carmela peered swiftly behind her, and Blanca gestured to two exorcists who were obstructing their way in front of them. They managed to encircle Carmela, Blanca, and Anna, with the other three exorcists in tow. Luckily, Carmela had spent a considerable amount of time reading up on the exterminators. They left themselves open to counterattacks because of their aggressive combat style, if that is what it is. She also benefited from their very non-existent defensive layer. When Carmela noticed a lapse in her girls' development, she told them to go. So they could leave. Carmela swiftly dealt with the Holy Messenger by using her Holy Messenger steel-tipped shoe to chop off her head, after one of her comrades tried and failed to stick the heathen. Shortly after, the second Heavenly Messenger who went for her girls fell. As they left the location, nobody of her daughters checked their mother, and one exterminator unintentionally followed them, giving her back to the master in charge of weapons control. This was advantageous to her since these exterminators would not normally be able to live here. None of them could be driven by a neurotic fear of being identified by the offender, and the inevitable repercussions that would follow. Kai. Blanca was not getting any better, and Carmela was pinned someplace close to an exterminator. With her arms strapped to her back and her eyes fixed on her sister, the pale clean monster was kneeling. She was being forced to observe what was about to happen. When Carmela saw the unfathomable, her heart was on the verge of exploding from her chest, and her head spun around rapidly, without realizing she had given herself whiplash. Although Blanca was the more rational of her two daughters, Anna was more grounded than her sister. Both were fundamentally weak points because they could protect themselves against both the typical everyday miscreant and divine messengers. Carmela ignored the exterminators nearest her and rushed as quickly as she could to her girls. When sacred steel unexpectedly entered her leg, she stumbled on the ground, her hair unraveling as she realized her mistake. Carmela might scream, no. As she watched the exterminator raise her lance, prepared to murder her eldest child. Crush. Moreover, her tiny daughter would have died by then even if they did. Though they might leave a very strong mark and cause eruptions, non-lethal ones could heal with time. Lethal was just that, lethal. Furthermore, Carmela's deep involvement told her that the exterminator seemed prepared to deliver just that. A deadly blow. Suppress. That plan, however, never came to pass, and everyone saw the exterminator's itcher sprinkle the ground, her kindred holy messengers, a withering honor, and a dangerous black chain explode from her chest. The exterminators couldn't respond fast enough to prevent themselves from meeting the same end as their sister, since they were so absorbed. When they were completely dealt with, the chains also pulled out of their casualty collecting. Carmela saw as they went back to an unknown source. A man. A man with fair hair and extraordinary height. But Carmela could not have given a shit about that. Disregarding the discomfort of each step and the agony that made her so ecstatically joyful when she finally made contact with her oldest kid, she took the lance from her leg and bounced to her girl in spite of her fury. Mama. Ma, Anna said, scratching and breathing irregularly. She was warned by Carmela, SHH, don't talk, Anna. Mama. Anna's eyes were beginning to glaze over, and she was unable to continue her sentence. Carmela bit her lip to keep her feelings in check as she held her dying kid. When she said, I'm here, Miha, I'm here, she was pitying. Stay away. Blanca yelled, and Carmela heard it. Similarly, this unidentified individual carried out the same action without. But Carmela would not be easily subdued, and a brief, harmless lift of his hands bewildered her. Again, a quick check of her legs showed that the wound had healed and was completely hidden. For that brief moment, the blondie solely anticipated touching Anna. If it weren't for the way her daughter's horrible injury started to heal itself, the whiteness of her face returning to its characteristic expression, the lopsidedness of her breathing returning to a regular rhythm, and the coating in her eyes going away, Carmela would have been horrified. Mama. As the stranger stood up, Carmela whispered something she didn't often say to people. If the smile she saw was any indication, the fair wicked spirit heard her say, much obliged to you, albeit it was only a whisper. Need assistance getting out of here? She heard him ask. Their tiny girl blushed as the man twisted down and continued to demonstrate on his marriage technique, and she watched with curiosity as his massive tail spread out and separated into 9 separate ones that kept folding over Blanca and Carmela. A contented woman, Carmela would typically turn down such assistance, but in light of the current situation, she chose to take no chances and went after anything that might lead to opportunities. This is Commander Uzumaki talking. If it's not too much trouble, keep your arms and legs alongside you consistently. Signal, boop. Thus, where to women? Their deliverer inquired. Indeed, most importantly, could we at any point have your name? Said Anna. Name's Naruto, good to meet you, he replied with a smile, and Anna chuckled. Despite her love for her oldest, Carmela was sadly prone to giving in to someone easily. The others ended up tasting her steel-tipped shoes, thus this was actually one of her better decisions. She uttered, goodness, exquisite, another pound. Carmela. Anna. She looked somewhat green as Blanca, her younger self. When Anna said, you really passed it, she laughed. A shout. Much thanks to you for utilizing Uzumaki carriers. We realize you have your selection of aircrafts, and you picked some unacceptable one. No discounts. He told Blanca. Just put me down. You got it. Naruto said, smiling and doing as she said. Oh no. Insightful ass, Blanca said, rubbing her sensitive back. As he put Anna and her mother down, Naruto said courteously, indeed, woman, it's been enjoyable, still grinning. Come here. Anna seized him, kissed his face, and gave him a card that read, call me, on it. Naruto found 4 things when he woke up here. She gave him her own card and said, you help me, and I reimburse the people who actually do well by me. If you need assistance, call and I'll see it through. He grinned at Carmela. Not sure how to react to the help, but unable to turn it down, Naruto said, much obliged. Know where I can find a decent ramen stand. Okay? Ramen, replied Naruto, you know, the food of the divine beings. Noodles, high in sodium, was Blanca's reply. Anna shrugged, and Carmela simply focused on her daughters. Indeed. Pentagram City has nothing like that right now. The sum total of what we have are moment cups, and they were undeniably purchased by somebody. No? Joy? Let's get real here for a minute. I'm heading inside. Zeshul. Open up. Anna tease, you're free to go along with us. Very welcome. Anna. While observing him fly off into the distance, Anna questioned, you don't think he implied why I think he implied, right? Blanca said, what is your take, Uncle Zeshul, as the doorway opened. Zeshul inquired from the entrance. Blanca, Anna, Prithee, dearest Carmela, whom was that? Carmela only glanced at her most experienced friend and smiled. Zeshul squinted, believing his eyes were playing tricks on him, but the smile persisted. Interesting, thought the ancient master. At this time. Ah. My balls. Sir. Sir, we have an issue. I question woman Sarah would allow you authorization, sir, however. Lute yelled sir, to make herself stand out. Adam believed Lute without doubt since he knew her for a long time, and knew how given she was. I could never kid about something like this, sir, he said. It only took Adam and Lute a short while to arrive at the scene of the crime, where, in a modern-day miracle, the groups of different exterminators were discovered sprawled on the ground, their heads severed from their bodies and inexplicably missing, and, with the exception of one, growing holes in their chests. One of the exterminators explained, "We don't know, sir." "I'm pretty sure you were just beaten with a noodle, sir," the exterminator said to their officer. "I'm pretty sure they were on the ground there when she fell, sir," Lute deadpanned, gesturing to the adjacent bin. "Lieutenant Lute." "Not currently, we have a," Lute said, placing her fingers to her drove veil. 7 additional bodies were found. "What?" "Obscure, sir. We heard a commotion from the rear entryway and found 7 bodies, we have no idga." "Oh, little child's ears hurt, unfortunate child. Somebody dealing with rubbish like you and your posse, Databeo." "Fire. Fire. Fire." Adam just heard what was on the other line. "Area 7, sir." Lute clarified, "Near the Paradise Consulate, sir." In reality, Lute confessed anything after checking out. Their heads are absent. As he and his exterminators were blasted by severed tops of his military from across the back street, Adam's comment was interrupted. No Shiao. The foo is doing that." The swing of his emerged hatchet sent a flood of blessed energy at the structure from which the snicker originated, obliterating it in the process. The exterminators and their chief flew up over the rubble and looked around, but they were unable to find any bodies. "Okay, props on the frightening snicker. Yet, presently you pass on." Apart from Lute and his former number 1, Adam rarely attempted to discover the names of his exterminators. "Hello, Sugar Chits 1, 2, and 3, the 3 celestial messengers said. Get down there and begin looking." Without a doubt, they did. Lute acknowledged the message she received and said, "Great, sir, the extra exterminators will arrive at any moment." "It's a great deal of rubble, sir." "Sir?" "Approaching." Saluting, Lute said, "Duplicate that." "Sis." Adam asked, "Did anybody else hear that?" Once an exterminator said, "Seemed like a snake, sir." Lute shrugged, lacking in evaluation. Sizzle. Adam asked, Is it me, or is that getting stronger?" Kabum. As solid as they were, the heavenly messengers weren't quite as strong as they believed they were, and falling many feet to the ground in a severely damaged state proved that hypothesis. Certain individuals survived, but the majority were severely injured or killed upon crash landing. The wave undulating and dangerous curves of red lightning shocked, deadened, or generally disintegrated the holy messengers Adam called for. "Sir, look." A simple yet powerful blow silenced Adam, causing them to crash into the Paradise Consulate and out the other side, leaving a hole framed when he finally came to a stop. "So far, nothing has appeared," Velvet said, the moth-like master. "Could it be a malevolent spirit from one of the various rings? They don't want to pay attention to me, why would it be a good idea for me?" When he first tried cooking, he was told, "Attempt to make rice." "No, that is idiotic, Charlie doesn't cook." After a single bite, Lucifer thought he saw his father. "Hang on. Something's coming from the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. No, stand bites." As they were known to the public, holy person Michael the Let's celestial host, also referred to as Lucifer's older brother. Erase that. Vox and Valentino frantically climbed upon their own V, with the woman yelling as they tried to take the phone away from her before she posted her message. Which meant that she would most likely have to comfort her young daughter's broken heart once more. A test. He was strong, but this was different. "What's more, you trust Verdo to genuinely deserve such." "Only we will before long see," Zestial said to the armaments dealer. "Well, presently, there's something you don't see consistently," Alistair said. "Never suspected I'd see a chief heavenly messenger." Nif's sagacious smile dropped. "Ooh, he seems to be a terrible BO, she has tits," she said, not doing taco as she had heard the holy messenger phrase it. "Charlie. You really want to circa." Charlie's insane state caused her to briefly transform into her devil structure, before she instantly returned, and began tugging at her hair in a stressed-out manner. "Quiet down." "Gracious, would you say you were going to advise me to quiet down? Since, assuming that you were, don't advise me to quiet down." What's with her? Have you not been watching?" "Almost certain this is on the grounds that she assisted Adam with preparing the original of Exterminators," Baggy clarified. Whether he showed it or not, Alistair was curious. How exactly did Vagatha know something so important that not even he was aware of? Undoubtedly curious, something to think about at a later time. Crash. Lute couldn't remember the last time she had experienced such excruciating pain. She was barely able to move, and she was certain that her legs were fractured in an unknown number of places. She wouldn't question that the bones in her legs were now just powder. Even though she had given it her all in the fight against this unknown evil spirit, Adam had yet to give it his all, and their enemy had not even a single scratch on him. Over 66% of the exterminators had left, and it would take them years to find new qualified employees to replace them. His opponent hardly moved when Adam swung his hatchet, as if he had guessed where he intended to strike right away. No, not at all. It seemed as though he knew exactly where it would have been and where to avoid. And when Adam raised his hatchet for an overhead strike, the evil spirit remained motionless and allowed the hatchet to strike him dead on. Luke grinned, believing he had finally gotten messy, but it fell right away. Adam drew out another hatchet and swung it toward the startling voice. "Stand down, Adam," the weapon impeded by a single finger, marking the edge. Where the mouth was, the closed zipper was framed by the extra piece of Adam's driven veil. "Anyway, care to make sense of what's kept my previous student and his ragtag group from their main goal?" "Definitely, thus, this is how things have been. Sir," Lute exclaimed as she followed him, completely oblivious to how terrible the protest was. "Bunchin Daibakuha, clone extraordinary blast. Her favorite top was this one. Anyway, you want to play it that way, huh? Fine by me." Mitchell's power caused storm winds to suddenly clear across the Pride Ring. The startling force sent evil presences flying and sent the lesser ones into a frenzy. In total, the power was felt all the way to the fourth-most ring. The energy was felt throughout the 7 rings. Each ring began to tremble, the power diminished by the 5th ring, but was easily felt on the basemost ring. Innumerable people clasped and fell to their knees as if gravity had suddenly increased. Countless others were unable to breathe, as if the air had miraculously stopped entering their lungs. And the majority passed out or became agitated. Additionally, it gave her a lot of energy. After a long period of exhaustion and humiliating struggles, she finally found someone who stand by. How was he doing that? Red SPH. Daimara Sengen, incredible evil spirit lord spiraling circle. But that's when she realized something important. "Where's my blade?" he said, decent sword, handed the weapon back to him, and walked away. Presently, "Who purchased all my raiment?" he asked eagerly. "Dal why huh?" Charlie was unable to fully comprehend what she had just witnessed. "No doubt about it," Baggy expressed agreement with her partner. Then Nifty exclaimed, "Oh, that is all there is to it. Boo." As far as he was concerned, Alistair remained silent as the grave, offering no insightful criticism, just a smile and 100 miles and 60 minutes of thought. This light-haired, 9-followed man, whoever he was unquestionably a significant advantage, and a very powerful one at that. He understood that the masters would convene to discuss this. Elvette asked her kindred V's if she could post this at any time. Box. Valentino. Anyway, who gives a damn? Despite being the youngest of the masters, Velvet began organizing the most effective way to meet the powerful demon. The V's were feared at that time, but this one was obviously more grounded than any of them. This was strength on par with, if not more than, sin. Their continued status as the Pride Ring's most grounded would be firmly established by that kind of force. While illuminating his beloved companion, Zestial wasn't questioning. "Well, this bodes sick news to come, does it not?" This was a huge change, and Paradise wouldn't take it easily. Carmela Carmine could gesture. On the plus side, her little daughters were safe, everyone had access to an infinite supply of holy messenger weapons, and even if Paradise would likely demand retribution, she seriously doubted that it would happen anytime soon. And, strangely, if they were astute, they would be even more cautious at that time. No ordinary person could defeat a chief divine messenger, let alone triumph over him. Even the wrongdoers would be frustrated. Regardless, this man, this unknown variable, did, and he did it as if it were inconsequential. Carmine thought carefully about how she might learn as much as she could about him. Although Carmela Carmine was unable to understand it, she got the impression from their brief encounter that he was neither one nor the other. Additionally, Carmela couldn't think of anything more ideal than having that person around. Right now, Lucifer's jaw was stuck to the ground, and his mind was really trying to fold over what he had just dragged the observer to. Although the exterminators received their butts on a golden platter, Lucifer believed that this state couldn't worsen, and that it was the better option than the last. However, this would just cause him more cerebral suffering than before. Ring. 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 Lucifer wished he hadn't ignored the call and left it on voicemail. "Lucy. Large brother. It's Gabe. Look, I know you're there, we want to talk, presently." Gabriel informed him, "Hang tight, I'm getting another call." "Goodness, thank God," he said, one of the few rare occasions he praised his father. Phew. Lucifer's day simply got worse. "Alright, everybody. Along these lines, what simply happened aside, we actually need to get this spot up, and not a single one of you are tuning in," Charlie knew. Husk remarked, hate to concur with him, but he remained silent while he drank his small amount of liquor. The hard stuff had long since vanished. "Come on, people," Charlie yelled. "Charlie, darling, I make that you need this lodging ready. However, I mean, is there actually any point now? Your meaning could be a little clearer. I accept Vigatha is alluding to the way that our baffling dark red vindicator gave Paradise's lapdogs and their most noteworthy warrior such an exhaustive whipping that it's extremely dicey they will spread the word about themselves anytime soon, my dear Charlotte," Alistair continued. Aggie could have done without the intervention, but that was the main objective. "Yeah, what he said." The winged feline demon was congratulated by Alistair, who said, "Very perceptive, Husker, rough, but shrewd in any case." "Whatever," dismissing the hand. Husk, we're. Thump thump. Charlie opened the door and sang, "Hey, welcome to the Huzzah. Goodness, see. Somebody is here to join us." Hammer? What? Asked Faggy. Faggy Ahashir. The messenger from heaven asked Husk, "You get any Odat?" Charlie did exactly what was instructed. "Charlie, honey, take a full breath," saying, "Okay, maybe not too much yet." Charlie said, "Yet again he's here." As the holy messenger took away the blade she was holding, Niffy grinned fiercely and said, "The Lord. Ooh, a definitive terrible kid. You think he'll like my cockroach show? He would be wise to ha. Stand by, Alistair. That is not." Alistair bowed with his head down and eyes closed, saying, "Welcome to the Hazbin Inn, your highness." No doubt, almost certain you got me mistaken for another person." The other residents of the Hazbin lodging weren't as uninteresting in their reactions, but Alistair simply raised his head and woke up. His monocle fell to the ground and cracked after it was handled, but his expression remained the same. "Ooh, who's he?" asked Nifty. "Usanova." With a flash, Naruto asked, hello. Do you folks serve ramen here? If it's not too much effort, say okay." As the media called him, Charlie swallowed and grudgingly approached the Angel Slayer. I'm Charlie, excuse me a second," she said quickly after returning with a group of strange people. The messenger from heaven informed her, "You want to get him out of here. Auntie or not, don't you think it's a piece unusual he come here not long after beating the living snot out of him?" Husk agreed. "Pat Biter has a point. You realize I can hear you, right?" "So Mr. I'm sorry I didn't get your name." Presenting Uzumaki Naruto, the blonde. Husk questioned the group, "Ain't unreasonably Japanese." This individual didn't appear to be Japanese. "Obviously, you do. It is, or at the very least, the language of his nation was akin to what these people referred to as Japanese." Husk attempted to think about finding a valid approach to make sense of this without disturbing this strong devil. "Be that as it may, you're, how would I put this?" Luckily for them, Naruto only said, in confusion. "Disregard him," Charlie remarked, knowing that he would. "In any case, how may I ever be of assistance to you?" Given that it was a lodge, he agreed that it was worth a try. All things considered, most importantly, similar to I asked, "Do you have any ramen?" Either that or he traveled to several rings. Is that right? Beep. Charlie murmured, curling up in his snug embrace. Charlie gasped, sensing the muscles on her. "Goodness, amazing, areas of strength for your strong." "Oh no, apologies. Very, truly cheerful. I awakened here 3 weeks prior and haven't found any ramen since," Naruto learned. From that finding, a pin drop might be heard all the way to paradise. Unable to trust her ears, Faggy remarked, "Please accept my apologies." "What was that?" "I accept," Alistair interrupted. "I understand what he said." Faggy stated, "I simply find it hard to trust that this person's a delinquent." "What's so difficult to accept?" "I was human, I kicked a bucket, before I know it, I awaken here," Naruto stated, honestly unsure of the exact explanation given everything he had done during his lifetime. When Nifty ran into the mighty devil, he snickered, "Ooh. In this way, you're a terrible kid. Hello. I'm Nifty. I clean." Hey Nifty?" Naruto questioned, tapping the short Cyclops, a little startled by the peculiar behavior he sensed in her. Nifty merely chuckled during the show. Charlie informed him, "You can definitely relax, we're 80% certain she's innocuous." Naruto said, "Sorry, woman," deadpan. "Try not to allow the tit to cushion Fulia, in a person." "The misfortune," the celestial envoy residue remarked, shrugging and grinning simply. "I profoundly question it," Naruto thought. "Husker is very correct," Alistair concurred, adding that, "It really does make one wonder." "How?" "In truth, I'm wonderful," Naruto said them all with a smile. I don't know that qualifies as a response," Charlie said. "Better believe it, indeed, that is all I'm saying until further notice, all in, about that ramen. I can pay, gracious, and I want a room." Due to a miscommunication on their side, Naruto spilled a huge mound of cash that he had taken from several criminal organizations that had attempted to harm him in the weeks prior. "Okay," the group said. Charlie reluctantly replied, sure. The money was all that could possibly be required, and with their tight budget, it was much needed. Moment not'll fine. Charlie just proved to be a really strong friend. "Bully. I'm full," Naruto exclaimed. He had never had the opportunity to win a battle, and he had never been able to resolve that mystery. "Nah. This isn't anything, my better half could eat around 20 cups more, and she kept her figure," he replied. "Furthermore, what figure was that?" "Pillsbury Doughboy." Naruto squinted and remarked, "I don't know what that means." He said nothing since he didn't like to think that the holy messenger had to explain the joke. "The words here hitched," shocked Faggy. When Naruto said, bereft, Faggy flinched, which was a good move on her part. "We were together for barely 100 years before she passed away," she stated. Then Husk thought he had misheard. What? Naruto had no idea how long he had left, and he had no one to cause another person to suffer the loss of a buddy, even though he had never remarried. He had more friends with benefits than genuine affection, though, and he was self-assured enough to overlook the fact that it had occurred 30 years after the fact. He did, however, occasionally go on excursions, but they were mostly physical. Regardless of whether they trusted him or not, Naruto just shrugged. Husk murmured, all in all, Angel Slayer, what's your story at any rate? No, I mean for what reason you're light, was the sardonic reply. Gracious, indeed, my father had light hair. He served, I volleyed, Naruto joked. Savvy ass, Husk mused. Ha! He got you great, Stubbles. The holy messenger said when he asked. Call me Stubbles once again and I'll stick this lager bottle down your throat. Compromise, Husk. With a hint of unease, Naruto asked, are they generally like this? Nifty jumped up next to him and giggled. According to her, no, it's typically more rough. What about a brand all things being equal? Asked Nifty, smiling troubledly. Again, Husk asked, in this way, spill. They ought. Who exchanged my coke with tingling powder? Gracious God, it consumes. Actually, generally speaking. I pay to see that ass kicking, Husk said, enjoying making money off of his own labor. Another typical day at the Hazbin Inn. I contacted nothing, the medical attendant said. Are you calling Sir Adam a liar? Lute, who was in worse shape than her chief, queried the heavenly messenger. Lute opened her mouth to say, yet, woman Michelle MMMHMMM, but her words were unintelligible because Adam was that way. Where was she going with this, again? The stunning woman who made her heart and body jump like Superman while on vacation is truly magnificent. She would get him for it later. Excused. Sarah summoned a number of holy messengers, and nobody protested when they left the room. What happened? MMHMM, Nga. Even though Adam was still a divine messenger, Sarah's strength was greater than his. Tell me why I should allow this to continue, Sarah interrupted. What? Your greatness. It wasn't our shortcoming. It was a dirty evil presence that did this. A strong one, Lute knew. Sarah squinted her eyes and urged, go on, letting them grow complex. That's what you saw. Goodness, please. Center, Sarah inquired. This evil presence is nothing similar to we've at any point seen, and his power, Lute shook as she started to recall, adding, I've never felt something very like it. A few hours later. In this way, what is your take? Alistair said when the transaction was completed. What are they referring to? Naruto asked Husk. Princess Daddy Issues is attempting to persuade heathens to remain here with expectations of getting them into paradise with recovery. Pretty trivial if you ask me, Husk said the light. Why is that so off base? Sounds honorable if you were to ask me. He was simply chuckling. In my experience, it's just unthinkable on the off chance that you surrender. In any case, regardless of whether there's just a little likelihood of coming out on top, it's as yet conceivable. Taking everything into account, Husk simply feigned irritation at the sappiness. It was wonderful that there were now two of them. Naruto occasionally heard the holy messenger call Alistair incidentally, what's with Mr. Unpleasant Grin? Or the strawberry pimp. Like I said, I just arrived half a month prior, Naruto added, but it was again unclear why. The old master knew that very well. That didn't respond to my inquiry, deadpan Naruto. Aggie's boisterous what? Interrupted Naruto's response, diverting both Husk and Naruto. If you're recording a business, might I at any point recommend you exploit the gifted superstar you have here? Ha ha, never going to occur, Alistair remarked with a bitter laugh. It didn't count the kiss with the Naruto pal. What's more, indeed, I'm not gay. Hey, I'm not straight, but if you pay me enough and give me a fluffer to get me rolling, I'll lay down with ladies, disclosed holy messenger residue. Charlie excused herself, definitely, but, as she noticed the guest ID on her phone and felt it vibrate. Hold that idea. I'll be right back, she remarked. Take as much time as is needed. I can go the entire evening, child. Is he actually gloating? Regarding certain records. I don't know, want to figure out direct, Blondie. Remarked heavenly messenger, raising his eyebrows as he. Even with his skills, Hinata could only handle so much before Naruto exclaimed, most importantly. Not gay. Second, my record is 31 hours and 52 minutes, he may have added. Aggie, enjoying the fact that holy messenger residue tried to counter but failed to come up with anything great and only heaved, said, fine, question however, if your twos are so strong for what reason might you and Mr. Freaky talk at any point, make individuals stay here? You know, help this spot out. Goodness, trust me, I can, was Alistair's wise reply. Before Naruto could reply, Husk cut him off. I like being constrained. Remain quiet about that, Nif. Well, that's enough crazy for one day. Naruto then said to them, I'm going for a walk. A mariner-mouthed inhabitant talks reality. You'll be sufficiently lucky to make it a solitary block prior to ending up coaxed by the majority, Alistair stated. I can deal with myself, Naruto waved. Now that I think about it, why is this spot so unfilled in any case? All in all, you figure each loser and player out there could need a piece of this fellow, so why hasn't any of them separated the ways to see him? Aggie had to admit, without hesitation, that the questions were in fact some of the quicker ones Heavenly Messenger had dispatched. Oh ho, my dear kid, when one sees a master strolling down the road many escape for their lives, and this strong example is plainly more remarkable, Alistair comprehended. Henge, change. Does that answer your inquiry? Naruto disclosed in a soft ladylike tone. What? You can change your appearance. Is that right? So. What's the matter? Don't I look stunning? The heavenly messenger closely resembled him in appearance, demeanor, and likeness. Is it off base that I'm so turned on the present moment? Gross. Proof. However, indeed, I feel grimy, Naruto, now Alistair said, but he did not transform into the holy messenger, and the voice was difficult to imitate. Benevolently return, there's just space for one radio devil. Alistair exclaimed as the room swung about him. His teeth were still shut, his lips still. The Alistair said, isn't it respectful to say please when we request something? Great habits and all, his stare conveying a strength that the first needed. Alistair continued to smile as he responded, please, if it's all the same to you. After rubbing his throat, Naruto returned to his usual self. All right. With a distinct proof. You have to ask, how would you do that with your voice? It's difficult for the throat, he replied. Proprietary innovation, my kid, said Alistair, resuming his stately demeanor. Charlie sung, okay. Before we go too far, I have an ANNOUNCEMENT while she was still getting over the disclosures she had just witnessed. You understood this entire chime is inept and continuing on with your life. Wondered residue, the holy messenger. No. Not with our financial plan, no. What the foo? More ramen. Charlie learned, no. My father called. How that was no laughing matter was beyond heavenly messenger's comprehension. So. Thus, the heads of the holy messenger armed force need to meet. Furthermore, he believes that me should go in his place. Don't you see? This is my opportunity of a lifetime. Bordeaux, who liked his nickname, off to bundle their exorcists and beat the living snot out of their managers, and presently they want to meet. Anybody mind his cerebrum realizes this is a snare, and Holy Messenger knew a setup when he heard one because he was from a mafia foundation. You're nuts, Mr. Blood Red Justice Fighter there. Is it true or not? Stop, dumb question. Folks, I know how unsafe this sounds, yet I need to attempt. Furthermore, Father said Paradise needed to arrange an arrangement, Charlie found out. An arrangement, my dear? Alistair inquired. Yes, I'm clueless about the specifics, but my father thinks I should find out and contact him. Meanwhile, I can try to convince them to accept my idea. Wouldn't you say it's a little soon too? I can do THIS somehow I know IT. Well, what's going on now? Why is she singing? Bordeaux squinted. As Charlie sang her song, ugh, it's this thing she does evidently, don't ask, Holy Messenger laughed. So, do you sing and move all the time? Naruto asked, his dark red hair disguised as a woman's. Charlie spat out, definitely, essentially, you ought to attempt it. No way, Naruto replied. He has never been a decent singer and never will be. I bet I can persuade you. OTHERWISC was sung by Charlie. When things didn't work out, Naruto suggested, we should stay with you trying to get your lodging project going, and see what they need first youngster, coming in case. You're right, gracious. Well, let's see. Why is there a holo, right, Charlie murmured. Naruto shrugged, without taking responsibility for the building's lack of strength or obstruction. The gold kind glittered so brightly that it was nearly dazzling, and when they approached the Paradise government building, Charlie's voice reverberated. She searched for anyone, but the only person she saw was a hellbringer who rang a drifting sign in sheet and materialized in front of her. Hey. Bordeaux's eyebrows drew together as the light in the room continued to show at him. An exterminator was close by, and behind them was Char. Hi, Auntie okay, so it seems that her dad's side of the family had tight embraces. That's wonderful to hear. Broken bones and no air. Not good. Charlie squeaked out, we've never met, having been told about her aunts and uncles a challenging task in and of itself, given how distant her father was from his family but having not had the good fortune to meet them. You were probably too little to even think about remembering, so how old would you say you are now, gracious? It's becoming low on oxygen. Just about, 200. Bordeaux couldn't quite understand what was being said. 200. She's more established than I am, huh? Really? Oh, it's been a while. I owe you a lot of birthday gifts, child. Charlie squeaked, air is needed, and declared that she was seeing her grandfather, who was completely different from what she had anticipated. He was short, and his bewildered hair matched the earthy color of the facial hair that was growing on his face. Heave. Generous, loving, lovely, life-sustaining oxygen. It wouldn't be essential. Lucifer suddenly materialized. Whoa, Dad. Is that all you have to say after over 30 days? Charlie stated, his face displaying frustration. In his explanation, Lucifer said, depression. He laughed nervously before spotting a hidden Bordeaux and asking, who's that? Her? Her name is Gracious, and she's my bodyguard, right? Yes. She is my guardian. To protect me, you know, to her father, Charlie said. Charlie was a fantastic artist and performer, but her acting was atrocious. Goodness, that was terrible to watch, she exclaimed. Aha. Goodness, LUCI was sung by a specific LED celestial host. Consume. Hello, how are you? Have a rest. Have a rest. Have a rest. We have parcels to discuss. Once more, choices taken out of fear were rarely the best ones. All right, my appearance might not have been wise, the speaker said. Goodness, indeed, right, so, I'm sorry, what's your name? Charlie inquired. Oh no. Naruto couldn't stop himself. I'm sure that's entertaining. With her lance aiming at the demon, Lute shouted, you dare mock Master Adam. I mock anybody who doesn't have the balls to appear here face to face, said Naruto. What are you standing by? As her fingers moved through Adam and Lute, Charlie queried, appearing earnest enough to notice that it was a 3D image. Please, goodness, the chorus of jests rang out. Lucifer responded, stand by, on the off chance that haven't arrived, why is she? Pointing to his oldest relative. Could an older sibling see her niece and her bedwetter sibling at some point? That was a long time ago, and it wasn't my fault, Lucifer growled. His emissary departed. You kept soaking my hand in water while I was sleeping. How come he can't get his act together? All things considered, once in a while it was Gabe who got it done. Lute, Adam, and Naruto were all laughing when Charlie exclaimed, all right, if we can all relax and remember why we came here, what is it? Perhaps some other time, Charlie said to appease her aunts. Much obliged, darling, Lucifer deadpanned. Well, assuming your mother's ex is. It had been a pleasant 100 years, and Lucifer laughed. You can't blame your mother for leaving him for me, or his subsequent spouse. Usanova. Naruto felt a chill run down his spine. Up until now, Charlie had been enjoying it. Furthermore, she didn't at the time. It's sadder starting today we hold the cleanse twice a year all things considered, said Adam in a scared tone. And this time, we're not just going after criminals. That's not possible, Charlie cried out. Not my concern, you knew the arrangement, we descend, have a great time for a whole day, and afterward we leave your little cesspool till the following year. As far as I can tell, you broke the details of the arrangement. Charlie clarified, the arrangement specified nothing about miscreants not being permitted to retaliate. Heaven? Asked Adam, inserting his finger into his ear. Wonderful, in fact, Lucifer reviewed that expectation. Fine by me, Lucifer shrugged. When he stated, sweetie, they're feigning, they got their butts given to them, and it'll recur. Nice-natured, eh? We've been allowed to utilize the Leviathans, Adam learned. Going over the stories her father had taught her about them when she was younger, boogeyman stories to get her to pay attention as a child. Charlie wasn't getting much better. Leviathans? Naruto asked. Never affront my better half. Lucifer growled at the man, indicating that he still loved Lily, even if they were taking a vacation together. Adam honestly didn't want to say, isn't that right? Indeed. The first thing Adam wanted to say was, ugh, fine. The snibbles. We're also willing to, he managed to choke on every word. Spill. Ha. Why? Adam told the Morning Star, ask her, and he felt like throwing a fit. No? What is this? Some odd evil presence game you all play. Adam responded, ugh, whatever, left. Smack. Adam hit him with his right hand. A crash. Furthermore, into the wall. Goodness, got my eyes. Relinquish my jeans. Get off my sister. You blind. She's on me. Furthermore, the eyes of everyone in the room who wasn't Naruto were pronounced. Die. I really want Blanche. Lucifer cried. Gracious God. Charlie cried, grabbing her eyes. Her face was redder than her suit. Very quickly. Charlie was sure of the response, but the following statement, husk, our most grounded stuff, and keep them coming, was unexpected. Crisis stash. Gone as well. Ugh, Charlie said, slamming her head into the bar. This day couldn't go any worse. What a dump. Will you quit following me? Generous, hold on, it may. Everyone looked, then froze, as a very tall LED celestial host entered therein. What? I'm out. A celestial envoy could not possibly remain with a frickin' LED celestial host, whether or if they were on a lease. Right behind you. Huss was unconcerned about Alistair ruining his soul. Destiny's intentions were derailed as the lodging's wall exploded out of nowhere. Show yourself, Alistair, come and face, gracious, you are right there, face the anger of the incomparable Sir Pentious. Who are you? Was heard Alistair ask. I just let you know who I'm. Sir Pentious. Creator, engineer of destruction, reprobate expert. Pentious began to cry. Ha, well, assuming all that is valid, you think I'd have known about you. The statement, I went after you simply last week, was difficult for Sir Pentious to accept. We've done fight, similar to, multiple times. Gee, indeed, you've probably been downright awful at this. I can't remember you, Alistair said, making fun of the evil snake-like manifestation. Gratitude for another forgettable experience. Kaboom. With a shout of why, the snake was hurled into the air. Alistair, we truly need your help. Vaggie said to him. Stand by, you're leaving. And we really want a wall. The holy messenger added. Obviously. Can't allow my new task to fall into decay as of now, what might the papers say? Said Heavenly Messenger, examining one of the dark ink demons with development tools that appeared with a snap of his fingers as Alistair left. It was being watched by a Vox-Tech drone. Vox. Valentino yelled at him again, but his kindred V finally remained silent. Whoa. The youngest of the threesome and frequently the youngest master, appeared when the entryway abruptly opened the chamber. Both of her kindred Vs did not respond to her question. Oi, would you say you are too listening? Try not to contact that, said Vox. Pause, I tracked down the Zoom. Vel cried as the framework of her objective became more clear. That's not the Zoom. Actually, if everything else was equal, she was moving the robot closer to the Angel Slayer. Bonk. Oh no. Too close. Ow. Naruto exclaimed as he lifted his arm to look at the TV. Vox exclaimed, no, in an attempt to stop the impending event, but he was never successful. Crush. Yep. Couldn't care less, form another, we can manage the cost of it, Vilvet told him. Thankfully, the accounts were transferred to their organization, though they may have irritated the Angel Slayer by saying that Vilvet needed a more extensive investigation for her informal group. That's not the point. Sure, it was a blockhead change, but, in the grand scheme of things, it was also the head. Where's Pischild going? S-A-L-U-T-A-T-I-A-O-N-S good to be back on the AIR, was abruptly heard by Vox and Vilvet. Is that who I think it is? Vilvet asked, glancing at Vox's angry expression. Phew. When she attempted to control herself, Naruto yelled back, don't want to. He had no intention of fighting her. This woman was insane. And the Heavenly Messenger residue said, thus, what's with her? I don't want to discuss it, Charlie stated as he took a shot. She hated having her own words used against her, and Charlie moaned. Oh no, what's going on with this? Don't bother me. Charlie fervently hoped she was. No, I'm not, he said. Her aunt's attempt to conduct business with someone directly in front of her was too much for her, even though she was a good-natured person who had nothing against feeling, and would have backed it, if a holy messenger had been able to hold the devil. Even after the celebration ended, her father had remained silent. You can't really understand. The shocked Heavenly Messenger exclaimed, stand by, what? For genuine. Angel, how do you have any idea that? Vaggie asked her fiancé. Oh no heck. Was the last thing Charlie said, admitting that she had spoken it without holding back. With a smirk, Husk administered another dose to the princess, stating, this is going to be fantastic. Gracious, please. Try not to leave me hanging, spill. Whoa. Generous, express thanks to God, take a moment. Ugh, what happens next? Vaggie questioned, regretting opening the door. The Heavenly Messenger paused at the sound of the voice. Out of my way, slag. You figure I don't have the foggiest idea what you're doing. You figure I don't have the foggiest idea about what's going on here. Moving in with Lucifer's little princessa so you don't need to come work for me any longer. That's not as Spirit's owner slapped the almighty messenger. Hello. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Naruto, and their faces were filled with anger. Why indeed, Valentino, the holy messenger's banquet voice replied. Ha. Valentino turned in time to see Naruto swing the sword, since soul contracts were unbreakable and impenetrable to damage. The chemical was being used as a protective measure by the master to keep Valentino safe. Ha, pleasant TRY, was Valentino's mocking reaction to the conclusion of the previous event. Have a rest. Heavenly Messenger's neck was encircled by a chain that deteriorated, each link disappearing until it reached the collar, where it likewise appeared to be residue. Everyone watched as the spirit-restricting material split into glass-like fragments and then into nothingness, followed by another break and another, and so on. By this time, Uzumaki Naruto had achieved the unthinkable, and the repercussions, when considered, had at last become acceptable. Those were the main phrases Naruto heard before going dark, despite his best efforts. What's she doing? The Holy Messenger inquired from his hiding place. Char made everyone cringe. It's protected to emerge. Whoa. Clank. Crash. Naruto. The imp Kurama is sleeping.